Money, 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 money. That's pretty fun. Okay. If you've ever struggled with coming up with a price point for your photo shoots or feeling confident when talking about how much you charge for your sessions, this is the video for you. Hey guys, I'm Kendra Swalls, a former teacher turned full-time photographer and marketing coach. And in this video, I want to show you exactly how to figure out the best pricing for your sessions so that you feel confident and comfortable when it comes to selling your services to your potential clients. Before we get started on this video, I want to let you know that if you go down to the notes, there is a free cost of doing business spreadsheet that you can download and walk through as I'm going through this video with you. I will be sharing parts of that worksheet here in the video. So if you want to walk through it as I'm going through it as well, please feel free to do that. So head down to the notes and grab that link and get that free guide to go along with this video. One of the most common questions that I hear from photographers, no matter what stage of photography business they are in, is how much should I charge for my sessions, or am I charging too much or too little? And this is a valid question because there really is no standard base for how much you should be charging in photography. It is going to vary vastly based on a wide variety of factors that could affect how you're pricing your sessions. And we'll walk through all of those today. But before we get into the numbers of it, the mechanics of it, I want to talk for a second about the mindset behind pricing. Because for a lot of photographers that I have coached or that I have worked with in the past, this is a huge block when it comes to talking about and understanding the value and adding a monetary value to the value that you bring. So with photography, because everybody has their opinion or everybody has an idea of how much you should or shouldn't be charging, it can feel like a personal attack when someone says you're not charging enough or you're charging too much. So I want to start by saying that I am of the mindset and of the belief that it is your business. Your business is yours to run any way that you see fit. If you feel like you want to sell your services for $50 a session and that makes you happy and you feel really confident and good about that, please, by all means, go do it. If you want to sell your services for $5,000 a session and that makes you feel confident and comfortable and your clients are excited about it, then go do that. There is no right or wrong way to do this. And I am just here to give you a guide, an example of a starting point that can help you figure out what is best for you and your business. But you have to also get comfortable talking about your pricing and sharing your pricing with others. So if you have a mental block around that part of your pricing, hopefully creating a structure in your pricing that you feel really confident about can help you with that. I know that's exactly what happened with me in my photography business. The more confident I got in my pricing and the justification of that pricing to myself, not necessarily to other people, but in my own mind, the justification of it in my brain helped me to feel more confident and say, this is what I charge. And I know inside why I charge that amount. And it may be a fit for some people and it may not be a fit for others. And that is totally fine. So the mindset is a big piece of this as well. The other thing I want to mention before we get into the spreadsheet is this idea that a lot of times people think that photographers just pull random numbers out of the air for their pricing. And I don't want you to be one of those people that's like, I think I'll charge this much. I want you to have an actual reasoning for why you're choosing the numbers that you're choosing. Okay, so let's talk about the worksheet that's down in the notes. It is called a cost of doing business spreadsheet. What cost of doing business means is this is going to help you understand the numbers in your business. A lot of times as photographers, we just kind of start running as a photography business and we don't fully understand what all of our numbers mean or how they can be used to really give us accurate numbers for pricing and expenses and all the other things that we need to deal with in accounting and our business. So hopefully this spreadsheet will help you to better understand how much you're actually spending in your business to know how much you need to be making from your client sessions. So inside of the spreadsheet, you're going to find 4 tabs. So the first tab is just the welcome page and it kind of walks you through how to use this worksheet, this spreadsheet. The second tab is your expenses. This is where you're going to enter your monthly or yearly expenses. And as we go through the tabs, you'll see why this information is important. So the first section is your standard monthly expenses. This is where you're going to put in things like if you have a client management system, if you have any subscriptions to Adobe Cloud services or Photoshop, or your website hosting or your gallery sites. So if you have, PicTime, or if you're using HoneyBook or Dubsado as a client management system, anything that you're spending monthly services or monthly cost on. So another one might be utilities, or if you have any contractors that you work with, if you have a hair and makeup artist that you typically work with for your sessions. All of that goes into that monthly expenses. Now, here's where I want you to really think hard about what are you actually spending money on every month. There's always things that we forget about. So I like to go back about the last 3 months in my bank account and look at what are the recurring payments that are happening every single month. Because usually I find some little thing that I have forgotten about, like insurance. I always forget the insurance piece. It just gets paid and I don't think about it. So I always have to go back and go add that in. That's an expense for every single month. Or parking. Most of the time for the sessions that I do, I have to pay for parking. So I factor in how much it costs to pay for parking when I go to those sessions. Little things like that add up. So we want to make sure we're adding all of those to that spreadsheet. And if you need to add extra lines, you can always insert a line and it should calculate the same way every time. At the bottom, you will see monthly total. That's going to add up all of your monthly fees and put it into one total. Now, if you have yearly expenses, so things that you pay for one time a year, sometimes there are services or subscriptions that you will pay for yearly to save a little bit of money, but you still want to account for those in your monthly cost of doing business. So put that into the yearly expenses. What that does is it's going to break it up into essentially 12 monthly payments and factor that into your total per month payment. So even though you're only physically paying for it once a year, we don't want those things to sneak up on us and then we forget, oh yeah, I owe $300 to my website hosting company this year. You want to kind of break that up and go, okay, well, I need to be considering it as a monthly payment, even though I'm physically paying it one time a year. But for the sake of this spreadsheet, we want those broken down into that monthly payment. So at the very bottom, you're going to end up with your total expenses for the month. That is the first number we need to have in mind. So this first sheet is the one I want you to focus on right away. I want you to start planning and thinking like, how much am I actually spending each month, and put it onto that sheet. Oh, my back's getting tired. If talking about money makes you tired, a Chick-fil-A Dr. Pepper always makes it better. Okay, back to it. So the second tab is your session-based expenses. So for anyone who has multiple types of sessions that they do in their business, so maybe you do newborns and maternity and families, each of those might have specific expenses related to that specific session. So for example, with newborns, you might have studio rentals. If you don't have a studio, and most newborns require a studio space, then maybe you're having to rent a studio each time you do those sessions. Or maybe for maternity, you have maternity gowns that you rent out or that you let clients use. That's an expense that you can then partition out into each session. You're adding in an extra $20 because they're using one of your gowns. Even though you only paid for it once, it's still an expense that you're having to purchase for the purpose of that session. So you want to go into that session-based expenses and you want to add in any specific expenses for those sessions. And again, even if they're one-off expenses, I want you to put them in there just to give an idea of like, okay, if I do a studio space, it's $150 every time I rent it. So I'm going to put that in. If I buy props, usually for a session, I'm spending on average $50 in props. Add that in. It might be more for some sessions, it might be less, but on average, how much do you think the items that you're using in your sessions would cost for that session? So add those in. This one is going to just kind of help us get an idea of, do you need to be charging more or less for specific types of sessions based on the cost of actually running those sessions. Then at the bottom of each session type, there is a number of sessions per month. This is where I want you to put, in your ideal world, I want you to realistically put in here, how many of these types of sessions can you do in 1 month? Okay, so newborns, that takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. So maybe you only want to do 3 of those per month. Or if you're doing weddings, you can probably only realistically do 4, maybe 5 weddings a month if you have 2 in one weekend or a weekday wedding. If you're doing family sessions, you might be able to do 10 a month because they're a little bit easier and they're on location. They don't require as much of your time and energy. So I want you to really look at like, how much can I realistically take on in 1 month of each of these types of sessions that I offer? And then finally, the last page is the session pricing model. This is where the magic happens, right? This is where we're going to put everything we've done together and we're going to really figure out how much we should be charging for our sessions. So the first box is going to kind of pull in our expenses. So it's going to ask, how much do you want to pay yourself? This is an expense that has not been calculated in yet. So you're going to put in here how much you want to pay yourself. Hang on, let me back that up for a second. I just realized I need to change something. So one of the things we didn't factor in when we were talking about our expenses was, how much do you actually want to pay yourself each month? Because the goal of this running a business obviously is to get paid. So what do you want your take-home pay to be? If you are working full-time and photography is a side hustle, then maybe you only need $1,000 a month. So you factor that in. If you are running this as your full-time business and you're like, no, I need to cover my bills, then maybe you need $3,000 a month. So you can put that in and it's going to adjust the price below that. So how much do you want to pay yourself each month? That's your owner's pay. The next box down is your total monthly expenses from your monthly expenses sheet carried over, plus the owner's pay you just entered. That is how much your total income per month needs to be in order to meet your monthly expenses and your owner's pay. So that's where you can kind of adjust. If that number looks really high right now and you're like a little bit hyperventilating, just breathe. I promise it's gonna be okay. Just breathe. If it looks low and you're like, oh, well, I'm easily making that every month, then maybe you need to pay yourself more, or we can make some other adjustments further down the line. If you're thinking this feels high and you're like, there's no way and I'm barely paying myself, go back and look at your expenses and see where you can cut some areas there as well. Okay, the next line is, how many sessions can you handle per month? Now, this is not a how many of each type. This is just as a flat bottom number. What is the max number of sessions you can actually take on each month and not feel like you're going to burn out and not feel like you're overwhelmed? So is it 5? Is it 6? Is it 10? Is it 12? You're the only one who can determine what that number is, because it's going to be based on your unique circumstances. So if you're working full time, if you've got little bitty kids at home with you all the time, or if you're single and running a business full time, all of that's going to look very different. So realistically, how many sessions can you handle per month? Now you're going to notice as you adjust your owner's pay and your sessions per month, then the number in the minimum session pricing is going to change. So let's say that I am asking to make, we'll just put it in as 1,000 just for an even round number. And so my monthly expenses plus owner's pay is $1,738.50. This is all hypothetical, but this is the numbers I've put into my sheet. Now let's say that I can realistically take on 10 sessions a month. Based on that information, my minimum session pricing is $173.85. Now, if I'm looking at that and I'm going, well, I charge way more than that, that's good. Then maybe my owner's pay needs to bump up to $2,000. If I adjust that, now I need to be charging $273.85 if I do 10 sessions a month. Well, now if I'm thinking, well, maybe I don't need to do 10. Let's move that down to 8. Well, now I need to charge $342.31 per session minimum. So this is something you can kind of play around with and figure out, like, where is that sweet spot for you, right? Like, how is that going to help you figure out how to price your sessions? This right here, these 3 or 4 lines are kind of the magic of how this whole spreadsheet works. There's other bonus things in here. Like I said, the session-based expenses and then the box below, which you haven't got to yet. But this right here, these 2 boxes, these 4 lines are where you're going to be able to adjust and play with things to figure out what your session pricing number is, that magic sweet spot number. Okay, last but not least, the very bottom, income. So you can type in the different types of sessions that you offer, how many of those you want to do per month, how much each of those sessions are that you plan to charge, and then you'll be able to calculate what your total income could look like. So if you're thinking, I want to do 2 family sessions a month at $350 each, I would like to take on 1 newborn session, and let's say I charge $550 for those. If I can type my numbers correctly. Nope. There we go. And then I'm willing to do maybe 2 maternity sessions a month and I charge $400 for those. So then my income from those sessions oh, that's not $4,000, $400. There we go. Is $2,500. So, or $2,050. So based on the information above, I would need to probably take on a few more sessions or raise those prices in order to meet that $2,700 income goal that I have set based on my information up above. So hopefully this gives you a good idea. Again, it's all going to be unique to you and your circumstances and your numbers and what you're comfortable with, but I hope you can grab the spreadsheet, play around with all those numbers, try plugging in different things, different amounts, different session types, all of it. Just kind of play with it. You're not going to mess anything up. And if you do, reach out to me. I'm happy to help you adjust it or fix it. But hopefully this gives you a starting point, a base point to get you going into feeling confident, comfortable, and ready to share your pricing with the world. Thank you so much for following along and watching this video. I hope you found it helpful and it gives you a lot of stuff to look forward to building confidence in your photography journey. If you found this helpful, I would love for you to do 3 things for me. 1 is click that subscribe button and make sure you are getting notifications every time new videos go live. 2, I would love for you to share this video with another photographer that you think might find it helpful. And 3, come follow me over on Instagram at Girl Means Business and say hi in my DMs. I would love to meet you and say hi to you and learn all about your photography business. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you again soon. This might be my favorite prop I've used in a video so far. Although I'm sure it's gonna be fun to clean up as well, but let's see. Oh yeah, I could have fun with that. Now there's a mess, but that's okay. We can clean that up later. What's extra fun is the Amazon guy just showed up. So I'm sure he got quite the scene watching me shoot money off and sing to my camera. Yeah, entertainment, right?